All
Hey
good.
y'all, welcome to episode 2 with Chirag Soni because I just forgot to record this. My name is Dickie, here with my co-host Donny of the Dickie and Donny Show, presented by Business on Purpose, where we liberate business owners from chaos so they can make time for what matters most. What I'm excited about today, Chirag is the CEO of GanttAI, and we're excited to hear more about how he's transforming and revolutionizing the challenging nature of construction. So, Chirag, thanks for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me.
You're only set up for success. There's no way you could match the disappointment that I have in Dickie right now for not recording the first time we did
It
this.
was
So
such a good 5 minutes, too, that the
Oh,
world.
good.
at least it was only 5 minutes. I would have hated to realize we got all the way to the end.
God.
Yeah,
So
exactly. That's actually a good way of looking at it, glass half full, right?
Yeah. So, Chirag,
Yeah.
again, give us the flyover excitement of what you guys are building.
No worries. I love talking about it, so not a problem to say it again. So my name is Chirag Soni. I'm the founder and CEO of GanttAI. GanttAI is built to help solve some key pain points in construction scheduling workflow. GanttAI has AI at the core of the overall scheduling solution, and it allows users to automatically generate, review, or compare different schedules. That helps them increase the speed that it takes to build a schedule, accuracy of the output goes up as a byproduct of using artificial intelligence, and then at the same time kind of unlocks some of these issues that are born out of siloed approach of communication of information. So I can go more into the specifics, but that's kind of a high level overview of what GanttAI does.
I love it. Sure. What got you into construction? Are you more into AI and see a lane in construction, or is it vice versa, where you're a construction guy that now sees a lane through AI?
Yeah, the latter, where I've been more into construction and now moving into a construction technology product, leveraging artificial intelligence. What got me into construction, I guess we're going to have to go quite a ways back. My dad was a general contractor back in India. I was born in India. My dad was a GC back in India. He was working mostly on city infrastructure projects. He had a small company. So I spent all of my growing years on construction site looking at excavators and people laying down pipe in infrastructure projects and so on. That then translated into an interest in engineering. I, for some reason, chose to pursue mechanical engineering for a little while. I had a bit of interest in cars, and so that kind of naturally transpired to saying, okay, what if I look at what mechanical engineering gives me? Went to University of Windsor, Ontario. I don't know if your audience is familiar, but it's just sharing the border with Detroit. There was a lot of car manufacturing that happened in Windsor, Ontario back in early 2000s. I started my undergrad in 2006, and by the time I graduated, pretty much all of that had gone away. So mechanical industry didn't really have as much opportunity. That kind of pushed me into doing other things. So got into structural work, some kind of mechanical structural work at an engineering firm up in Sudbury. It's a mining town north of Toronto, about 4 hours drive. Focused on working in an engineering capacity, servicing projects in mining, nuclear, did some structural work for different types of buildings. Spent about 6 years there, then moved into a consulting firm building large scale greenhouses. There I got more exposure to construction project management because we were an EPCM consulting firm, so we were helping general contractors or owners build the project from start to end. And then there I led a small team of project managers, had about a portfolio of roughly $1 billion, deploying capital across the globe, got to travel different parts of the world, which was fun. And then I moved into an owner firm in Canada, does retail construction across Canada. Another $700 million portfolio, building about 30 to 40 different retail stores a year, leading a small team of project managers as well. So started as exposure to my dad's kind of company early on, and then grew into through some meandering into working directly on site and on construction projects.
Beautiful. And
Yeah.
so, again, AI is primarily focused on commercial solutions or do some residential as well?
So GanttAI is type of project agnostic. So we don't care what type of construction you are doing as long as it is construction. We build. We can talk a little bit about what the solution does. So let's say what is GanttAI? We've got three main features within the solution. We've got a generate feature, we have a review feature, and we have a compare feature. Now, how does that work at a very high level? For generate is mostly built for owners and general contractors, where those who need to put together project schedules leverage this solution. how we generate schedules is based on historical data. So we take either owner or a GC's historical data. We create a custom machine learning model that will then learn from all of the historical information. What type of tasks do you guys execute and what type of project? What are the durations? What are the general relationships that you guys have in terms of different tasks? And learn from the historical, then create future projects based on some inputs from the user. So as a GC, let's say you've been doing this for 10 years, 15 years, you've done around 50 to 100 projects. You have schedules for those. We take that, with some machine learning, with some data science, we turn that into a model that is then able to help that GC come into our platform. They can then select what is this future project. They can type in, here's what we are building, give us some key inputs like the size, location, what's the cost, what type of project it is, and then hit generate. And within seconds, a full schedule comes out, depending on what type of schedule are they looking for. Sometimes people, when they're just kind of bidding for a project, they want a high-level schedule, versus when they want to go in and actually construct the project, need more detailed schedule. So GanttAI can create either level of those schedules based on the user input, and it'll create that based on all the historical data. Now, why this is important is mostly because when planners and schedulers create schedules today, they're not learning from all historical data that they have. They may use like one or two historical projects to learn from as to how the organization has done work historically, but they can't learn from 50 or 100 or let's say some companies have thousands of schedules. So building a model helps automate that overall functionality. So that's generate, again, agnostic of what type of construction you're doing, as long as there is historical data available to build the model. Review and compare don't need historical model. They can just work off of existing schedules.
So yeah, probably tribal knowledge is what drives most people on how to schedule. It's going to take a week for this, 2 weeks for this. You're using historical data. Do you also incorporate resources in that, whether that's materials or people? Is that part of the scheduling process?
Yeah, the model, if you have historical data on materials and resources, will learn from it and infer onto future projects. If you don't have it, that doesn't mean you can't generate schedules. You can generate schedules and then add resources and scale it up or down based on the availability. Like I said, GanttAI is not just generating a schedule in a PDF or any static format. It's a scheduling environment. So you can, once the schedule is generated, you can go in there, change dates, add durations, correct what the model has done for that matter, and then interact with it as well. So you can then go in and tweak the schedule if you so choose to.
Cool.
One question I have, and I'm fascinated because I do think there's just the amount of time that goes into scheduling to automate that could save some, I mean, the ability to bid 5 extra jobs a month, like, whew, what that could do right there. There's a lot of value here. When you get your schedules generated, is your schedule, whatever it looks like, able to be uploaded into other construction management softwares like a Builder Trend or a Job Tread or CoConstruct? I'm trying to think of what the main commercial one is. I can't think of it off the top of my head. Procore. But could you are you able to throw it in?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
So right now, what we've got built into the platform is you are able to export it into a Microsoft Projects or a Primavera P6 or an Excel export. All three of these are possible, but that doesn't mean that those are the only solutions we can export to. Exporting is really relatively simple. We can make it work for pretty much any platform that's out there in the marketplace, as long as it accepts data in whatever the general structures of data are.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's fascinating.
Tell me, this is going to be I'm going to ask you to predict where we're going to be in 10 years. I read an article this weekend about the labor force and how, and I do believe this, in the next 3 years, we're going to see a significant change in the type of work we're doing. How do you see AI affecting the labor force, or how do you see the next 3 to 5 years in the market of people doing types of this and knowledge work that was traditionally more of a, manager level work?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a great question. And there's two ways to kind of look at it from my perspective. Anyway, one of the ways is when we're looking at specifically to construction. Construction has been historically challenged in terms of resource availability. We don't have as many people as we need, but over the next decade, it looks like we might be facing a larger group of retirement, larger waves, so to speak, of retirement of individuals who are within the space. But the replenishment rate, the rate at which new individuals are coming into the construction space, is not the same as the retirement rate. In fact, it's actually going down compared to what it has been historically, mostly because back in the day, construction used to be a way to make a decent amount of money, right? Where even the entry level jobs were relatively high paying. But that has changed over the last little bit, where technology businesses or healthcare businesses, there's other opportunities that have popped up for entry level roles that are still now getting very competitive in terms of their initial salaries. So what that's led to is a lot less people coming into the construction space generally, while we have accelerated retirements. So the gap of resource requirement is growing as we go into the next few years.
Mm.
So how AI plays a role in this, I think AI is a productivity amplifier. So if you were to look at the capability of individuals that are in the construction space, to Brandon's point about how we can increase the number of bids you can make based on schedules you can generate to bid for different projects, because now it doesn't take as long to build these schedules, is essentially what it's going to do over the next decade, where it's going to help people bridge the gap between where they want to be from a resource or a productivity standpoint to where they are in terms of availability of resource. And I think it's going to be a great tool to try and help bridge that specific gap. Now, I know there are some concerns about AI replacing individuals and taking away jobs, but I think that might be a little bit too overblown, specifically in the construction side of things, mostly because there is such a huge deficit, right? So if there is a deficit and there is a tool that's amplifying your productivity, I think the first thing that happens is that deficit closes. Maybe after the deficit closes, you may see that enacting in a capacity where it may turn into some kind of, a reduction in workforce entity. But right now, the deficit is so large that we have years to go before we can get to that point, right? Anybody we talk with is saying, well, we need more people, we're scaling, we're trying to grow, we need more planners, but they're not available. I think that's where AI really helps and bridge the gap. Now, that's in construction. We're talking then we move to general knowledge workers. I think there is a potential where you do amplify the overall ability of individuals, but where there is not that much of a deficit, you might see a bit of a correction, so to speak, in terms of the resources required to do the amount of work. Because naturally, productivity going up means that the resources required, unless you increase net productivity of the overall organization or overall country or overall economy, you will have some downward forces on the resources. That is to say that in a macro scale, it's very likely that the overall economy globally will have a lot more GDP, but that is something that has a little bit of a push and pull kind of phenomena. So it won't happen immediately. It'll correct before it corrects in the other direction.
That's great. So this construction specific, larger gap of resources, knowledge workers, you think will be more corrective short term.
Yeah.
That's helpful. One of the guys, I don't know if you know Drew Burdick out of Charlotte. He's a software consultant we've worked with, very cutting edge of AI. He talks about the 3 horizons of AI or automation. So first one being productivity, the second one being differentiation, and the third one being disruption. And I love that, most people are productivity wise using it. Some people are differentiating themselves, but that disruption side, when you can't be a business owner and not use it, I think is coming to a point. Do you see that where you won't be able to schedule unless you're using automation at some point? You won't be able to survive as a business owner?
100%. I mean, I think there'd be a substantial advantage to those using data and analytics in terms of developing their schedules versus those that are doing that off of the traditional gut feeling type of way. Even though it might not be 100% gut feeling, there might be subject matter experts who spend their lives understanding how the durations are formulated. But the human limitation and the capabilities are such that you would be tending to biases, right? Human beings tend to have a recency bias where they've learned something recently. They'll try and implement that in a schedule. It'll just show up naturally, not because of anybody's fault. There's also tendencies to overcorrect. There's tendencies to not look at the overall data that is available. There's several issues that we face from a cognitive standpoint that artificial intelligence doesn't have. And it's really good at statistical understanding, which is where it will have a clear advantage over those who are scheduling projects manually. Now, scheduling is sometimes treated as an essential foundation of a project. Sometimes it just gets discarded as another printed paper. Nobody cares about it, and they just go on about executing work as fast as they can. However, when you kind of implement schedules in a way which is learned from a lot of historical data, there is a lot more you can do with schedules than just kind of predict what the durations should be. You can integrate live weather events into schedules. You can automatically track where you might be seeing rain or snow or adverse heat events that are happening and factor those into your projects. Planners are doing that, but not as proactively as they can be if it is automated and happening in the background while somebody's
Mm.
sleeping at night, right? So those types of things are unlocked and enabled by using a solution like this, which is a limitation from a planner standpoint.
Okay, I have one more question.
That's
I'll let Donnie talk. I love this. This is so fascinating. Are each of your models separate for each company you work with, or do you have one model that they all feed from and you can learn from, that you could, batch all your information to infuse into all of the systems?
Right. Right now they're separate, but depending on the type of agreement we have with individual customers, whether they want to have cross-learning environments established or not, some are sensitive about the data, so we protect it, we block
Sure.
it, we lock it into a model, and we say it doesn't learn from anything else and nobody else learns from it. But some are okay. They want to kind of lean from other learnings in their locality or in the areas that they operate. And then we cross-learn in terms of durational impacts and seasonal impacts, productivity impacts, and so on those types of models. So both.
Both. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Chirag, I'm a little bit curious, and I think this comes with what we do as coaches. What does your team look like right now,
100%.
developing this? You're owner, CEO. What kind of team do you have at GanttAI?
Yeah, we have a relatively lean team. We are a startup. We've been in the space for about a year and a half, almost 2 years at this point. It's myself. I have a CTO who's leading our overall technical development and implementation. We have a machine learning engineer who's a PhD, has worked on some large scale machine learning model development projects, who works on our machine learning models. And we have a couple of advisors, both in terms of scheduling, schedule quality, schedule output, and so on, and then advisors in terms of product development, implementation to the marketplace. So that's the team about at this point in time. Of course, we're looking at scaling, adding more resources. We do have some contractors who work for us, so they're not part of the organization, but they get hired as necessary to develop different parts of the product as necessary.
Sure. Okay. Thanks for explaining that. Follow up to that. We
Yeah.
hear this a lot, and we just came from the International Build Show in Orlando, and the amount of AI artifacts, tools, company, it was mind blowing. Like it just the amount, it's obviously AI is prevalent, but one thing that we kept hearing is it's transforming so fast that if I do work today via AI, it could be obsolete next week with how fast AI is developing. What are you and your team doing? But we are not an AI company. We're a business coaching company that leverages AI to the highest extent that we know how and how to be helpful and all that. You
Yeah.
guys that are, I don't want to say banking on AI, but are relying almost entirely for your product on AI, what are you doing to stay ahead of the consistent change? Or when you're fully in that space,
Yeah.
is it just something you have, like, is it like, well, I'm in a boat in the river, so I have to flow this way? Like, what are
Yeah.
y'all doing as a team to stay ahead of that?
So that's a great question. And I just wrote something on LinkedIn about it this morning because that was on my mind all weekend as to what do you do? Because it looks like both the defensibility of a product, of a technical product, of a software product, is going to zero pretty quickly. The reason why it's going to zero pretty quickly is because we've got AI that's capable of building code over a night or a weekend, right? Somebody can wipe code a different type of solution in a short period of time. So the moat, as they call it, is no longer technical development. The moat is no longer building a software solution. No, and further to that, you could have features. You could build specific type of features in a product that becomes a unique thing that your company can do that nobody can wipe code, nobody understands the pain point, therefore they don't understand exactly how to implement it. But that's also something that could erode over time, because if pain points are emerging out of workflows entirely are changing, right? With AI, the workflow today could be completely different than it is workflow tomorrow. So if the workflow of a specific sequence of events changes drastically, how do you build to those pain points? Because they will completely be eradicated if that happens. So then you come back to asking, okay, well, why would anybody buy anything anymore at this point? And I think to me, it seems like there's two main reasons why that happens at this point. I think one of the main reasons is you understand, as a business owner, as a product is trying to sell something in the marketplace, as to that, today this is a problem point. One, it needs a solution today. Implementing that solution today will help bring somebody some degree of ROI. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that now you can take this and turn it into an ARR and sell it for a multiple, and now it's all acceptable. Those days, I think, are gone in terms of you can have that level of predictability in your revenue. So I think at that point, understand the pain points, translate that into a solution, evolve that solution, and manage and maintain connection with your users. And the second part ties into that is your customer service. At the end of the day, what you're buying, if everything else is the same, is good customer service. So as a startup, you have absolutely no choice but to have the best customer service out there as you're trying to compete against a lot of different A, startups, and B, legacy solutions. But that will become the center point of conversation in the next 5 years, because no technical hurdles are the things that people can't overcome anymore. You can with code. So how you work with your counterparts, how you service your customers, that becomes a key differentiator. At least that's my opinion, and that's what I was kind of been ruminating over the weekend, as to saying, well, how do we protect GanttAI going forward?
Yeah, we say the same thing. We say your product is not your product. Your process is your product. And so
100%.
the way, let's say the three of us got a set of blueprints. We can all build a house with it, but the
Right.
way we communicate, the way we plan, the way we execute is going to be unique to us. So that's, yeah, it really lines up with how we think.
Yeah.
Chirag, you said identify the pain points, find the solution, maintain maintain it, and then focus on customer service. Did I get those four kind of steps that y'all are using correctly?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's great.
yeah, that's exactly what it is. And the one thing is you maintain it by evolving it. It may not stay the
Yeah,
same, so you need to continue to make that solution effective in what's happening today.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's
So
awesome.
where are y'all in the startup process, and kind of what's on the next year for you? Right. I noticed you didn't have many people in sales. So are you intending to build a sales team, or what's the kind of horizon look like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, it's just myself focusing on kind of generating the sales or leads and as a touch point to all of our customers. But that's certainly where we're going. Right now, we've got several key accounts that we're working with. We've been really focused on building a solution that solves the problems. We've been kind of in those projects with them to try and help them make sure that each of the things that we want to address are being addressed and addressed properly with our product. That seems to be coming to a completion, or at least to a point of maturity where we can say, okay, now we've got something that is solving the problem very clearly, it's doing that effectively, and now it's kind of ready for scale. So we're just at that edge of transition
Mhm.
right now. So the next step for us is to scale. We are actively looking at scaling both our review and our compare solutions, which are built specifically for specialty contractors. Those are drastic workflow challenges that specialty contractors have, that these two specific solutions solve. We've proven that repeatedly. We've got really good customer feedback that's come from our product, and we've got metrics that identify the amount of time that's being saved using our solution. So
Mm.
now we want to take this and grow this specific element. We also have the generate model that we're building. We're working towards, and our roadmap towards the end of the year is to have a generic generate, which anybody without needing historical data or anything of the sort will be able to just go in, type the project they want, and they should be able to get a schedule. Even that may have some degree of offset in terms of accuracy, but it would be fantastic for a first draft where nobody has to spend days to try and put it together. It happens in seconds and gets you 60-70% of the way there.
Beautiful.
Yeah, generally
Is
more product and scale.
So scaling. Mhm.
is there a world, and just even hearing you say that,
Yeah.
that I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask anyways because I got you cornered in
Mm.
this podcast. Is there a world where you almost make a public residential version for the homeowner for like house projects? Now, house projects is way small compared to what you're doing, but I'm thinking of I've had friends that feel like they're well versed and they'll GC their own home remodel, and
Yeah.
then they'll realize even though I'm good at what I do, I got way in over my head. Just hire a contractor. I've heard that from friends that are wildly capable, and
Right.
even hearing you say that, I'm like, man, you think of a schedule that would give, if I'm a homeowner and I want to do X, Y, Z, A, B, and C to my house, to
Right.
throw the scope in and have you come up, hey, here's an expected schedule. I know at that point you're more construction management in a way, but that schedule would be helpful. Like, have y'all thought through that? I think I know the answer, but you
Yeah,
could ask
generally
anyways.
speaking, but not very specifically in an implementation sense. Like generally
Yeah,
speaking, that's what we want to achieve for the entire construction space, but not specifically to the home renovation
sure.
level, home level. Of course, the granularity of something will make it cost prohibitive, or maybe if it is small enough, it might make it cost prohibitive to use something like GanttAI. If it is too small a thing where you may not translate well into getting, paying for a service which is building you a schedule if that's not going to be enacted by a GC.
Sure.
So there is that part of the equation. But eventually, when you commoditize a model that is being able to generate schedules, you certainly get to a point where generating schedules is no longer the value, right? How you manage those schedules, whether the schedules are accurate or not, communicating that upstream and downstream, those become the key value drivers. So if you
Hmm.
were to kind of extrapolate this into far future, where what happens when you build the model where you are able to kind of generalize it, you eventually commoditize it to a point where now it's something that is relatively available and anybody can build a schedule. If anybody can build a schedule, the value to build a schedule drops. And then now how do you manage and maintain the schedule becomes really the challenging point. Much like how AI is transforming how quickly you can code, right? If anybody and everybody can code, then coding in itself is not as valuable as you thought as it was. So similarly, if you were kind of extend that to scheduling, if anybody can schedule, scheduling itself is not as valuable. What is valuable is how you enact it.
I
Very
love it.
cool. Have
Yeah.
you thought about, I mean, I know you're probably in the MVP stage, but have you thought about moving into like a estimating side? So if you've got this data, you understand the people and the resources, to me, it's this quick skip into a more full solution. Is that something you'd be entertained with, or do you think that's not in your lane?
Yeah, two things. One, I think we're a little past the MVP stage in terms of product development. I
Oh,
mean, from
okay.
our standpoint, what we've done is, MVP was built a long time ago. We've then kind of actually scaled it with some of the users.
Okay,
So
great.
we've got partners who've been using our platform for some time. And then within the partner organizations, there are several project managers that are using it on different types of projects. So the product maturity is a little bit further ahead than that. That said, to your second question, it's all the talk right now, estimating, mostly because the vision models are starting to evolve to a point that they're able to read drawings. So estimators, they do takeoff. Takeoff is a big activity that is in the workflow of a project estimator, where they will get a drawing. The drawing will then go into a model, or right now they would just review it, identify how many lines of drywall how many linear feet of drywall they're going to need, how much steel they're going to need, and then come up with a cost associated with it. So there are a lot of solutions out there right now that are kind of trying to capitalize on that capability, where they're
Mhm.
taking the workflows of an estimator and trying to build specific solutions for them. For GanttAI, it's a parallel stream rather than something that ever converges, at least in my current outlook of what GanttAI does, where we want to focus solely, and as a startup, focus is an expensive commodity. Like we need to make sure that we're focused on the right things. And there's a lot for us to do with GanttAI. There's upstream logic we can build in to kind of get in data from other sources. There's downstream data collection where there are reality capture solutions that are on site that are tracking how the project's progressing, and then
Hmm.
that can be fed back into the solution. So creating a cohesive scheduling space where GanttAI becomes the scheduling tool that you need, which will do all of your assessment from day one all the way to completion.
Hmm.
Quite a ways for us to get there, and that's our key focus. Estimating is something that works in parallel with scheduling, but we right now have no interest in kind of migrating over to that space.
Yeah. I loved you said focus is expensive, that we said, or you said
Very
focus.
An
expensive.
expensive
Yeah,
commodity.
Yeah, that
yeah.
was, I mean, gosh, that's so good.
I
Like
wrote
that
that
was,
down. Yeah.
yeah, keep that one.
Yeah. Yeah, right now, because I mean, everybody is coming to us with these different ideas, especially on even our partners, like our partners that we've deployed the solution with. They've got these different thoughts and concepts that we can implement, and of course, those all make sense. We just have to make sure that our team can actually execute them and execute
Mm.
them in the order of priority and impact, right? So, yeah, that's why we got to protect that focus.
Hmm. That's really good. That's really good. If we have some listener that is interested, how do they find you? Is it your contact info? Is it Gantt.ai? How would they find you? Are you in the spot where if we have a large construction company that's interested in your services, are you guys open to that right now, or are you still keeping kind of your model at your base to build your product? How would we find you? Where are y'all at right now?
100%. No, we're at a point where we're ready to scale. We've kind of done the testing, done the validation, got the output, refined the quality of a product to a point where it's commercial grade, so to speak. So yeah, we're definitely ready to kind of welcome new customers and new partners. To find us, several ways. Our website is GanttAI, GANTTAI.com. So you can go there, sign up through the forums. There's contact information, email information, everything is on there. You can reach out to me directly. It's Chirag, CHIRAG, at GanttAI.com. And of course, you can find me on LinkedIn as well, Chirag Soni. You should be able to see my face on there.
Perfect. Well,
Okay.
thanks for taking the time. This is so fascinating. I love talking to people who are just on the cutting edge of what technology and automation can do. I don't know if I don't think I shared this with you, but we have a machine learning developer that's worked on a predictive algorithm that I did before I was coaching and are still headlong in it. And it changes every day. It's always something new and we're always adding to it. It's so fun, but it's a lot of
Definitely
data.
a time. If you're somebody who likes to learn new things, this is certainly a time for you because there's a lot of new things that are coming in every day. I'm sure you're seeing different announcements of different models, different tools, different agents that come out now at a rapid pace. It's almost kind of neck breaking pace where you've got these different
Crazy.
changes, but it's fun. It's exciting. There's a lot of change, and you can feel it even in talking to the execs on the GCs and the subsides. Everybody's excited about this change, how it can bring value to the industry. And I think construction, for whatever reason, gets a bad reputation that we're reluctant to make the change. I don't think that's true at all. I think it's
Not
quite
at
the
all.
opposite. Teams are really embracing. Some of the solutions have failed to deliver, which is the other problem, which is why there's a little bit of hesitation from the construction side of things where people are reluctant to implement technology solutions. But I think the excitement is there, the willingness is there, and certainly a great time for that.
It's so funny, even like that we had Claudebot, then we had Moltbot, and now we have OpenClaw. It changes the name every week. It's like some sort
Exactly.
of new, like how
I
many
think
times we could change the name of this thing? It's
the
hilarious.
capabilities are quite crazy, right? You can give it full control of your system. It can do anything. Of course, there are security concerns with that.
Oh
So
my
I would say
gosh. Yeah.
anybody and everybody be careful and use your discretion. Understand what it does before you use it. But once you start and accept and start to use it, I think it's quite powerful as to what it can do, and kind of gives you a
Hmm.
glimpse into the future, right? The security concerns are going to get figured out. People are going to make good, robust protocols that these things would not be able to just go crazy. But once you enable those types of functionality, people could be, sitting on your phone, chatting with your AI agent and, creating new apps or doing something that we have no idea is possible today. It's certainly an interesting time. And the acceleration of technology is just something that, it's tough to keep up with.
Yeah. Well, I love your positivity and your optimism around it. Some people are kind of a downer on, oh, it's taking jobs and that, but I really think you've got a really good energy on what you're doing. So thanks for taking time to share your experience story with us. If you have more information, you want to know more information, Gantt with two T's.ai, businessonpurpose.com. We're happy to talk about business coaching and getting operational systems and processes built, written, and executed so you can grow and scale your business. So thank you, Chirag. Great to hang out. And yeah, we'll look forward to connecting more soon.
Go drink some Diet Coke.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
plan.
I love it. I love it.
All
It was
right.
nice to meet you.
Likewise, guys.
Thanks, man. Bye.